Wop, that's some what. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jalen, and I'm so glad that it's Friday. I need this weekend so bad, and first thing I'm doing after being off of work is filming a video, a Friday reads of sorts. I think I'm just gonna talk about some books that I'm currently reading and what I'm planning on maybe reading next. And so yeah, let's get into it. But before we do, I just wanna share what I'm drinking today. As usual, it's a beer from Bottle Logic based out of Anaheim, California. It's called 3D Chess. Not sure why, but it's a Anaheim Hazy Double IPA. I'm always drinking Dippas on this channel, but yeah, they're my favorite. So let's give this one a try. I haven't had this one before. I don't know why I just made that gross ass noise. Oop. Yeah, she's good. She's you can definitely tell she's strong. And she's 8.3%. I mean, it's the weekend, we're ready. We're gonna turn up a little bit, I guess, while we're stuck in the house. So yeah, let's get into what I am currently reading. So first, I am almost done with The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And I love this book so much. It's so cute and heartwarming. It's made me get teary-eyed a couple times. It's just like a pure book. It follows this guy named Linus. I don't know how to say his name apparently. It follows Linus. It follows this guy who works in this department that oversees magical children. And so in this world, it's basically accepted that magical people and children exist. And so he works as like a government official in which he goes to these different orphanages and makes sure that the kids are being treated correctly. And the department in which he works is super strict, and he's basically living like a very dull existence. He just basically works and then he goes home and he has no friends, and he lives in a city where it's very rainy and dreary, and he just has one cat named Calliope, and she doesn't even really like him that much. And so he's just a very lonely man that's in his 40s or 50s, I believe. And he gets assigned to this special investigation in which there's these magical children that live on this island who are extra magical, I guess, and so they need extra protection, and he's supposed to go and investigate them and make sure everything's fine. But it's a little bit mysterious of the assignment, and he's kind of unsure why he's been assigned to it. And so he goes to this house and he meets these 5 children who all have different powers. So like one of the children, he's the Antichrist, and so that's interesting. He's my favorite character, by the way. There's a forest sprite who I guess she like has powers over forest stuff. There's this like dog, bird child of sorts, and who else? Another child, he is like basically like a see-through like alien kind of thing. He has like his eyes on top of like these antennae. I feel like I'm describing this book so poorly. And finally there's Sal, and he is a very timid boy because of some past trauma, and he turns into a Pomeranian when he gets super scared. And then he also meets the master of the orphanage named Arthur, and they end up like falling in love, I think is where this is going. So yeah, it's just super cute, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for something a little bit more lighthearted and just super fun, and just, I don't know, it's heartwarming and funny and thrilling at the same time. So it's just such a good book, and I also recommend this for teenagers as well. I think it's a super accessible book. It's not really pitched as YA, but I kind of read it as that, but I really like it for what it is. Yeah, so if that sounds intriguing to you, I highly recommend it. I'll be talking about this in my August wrap up, and where I'll give some more thoughts on it, but really like it so far. Next, I recently started Ali Smith's Autumn, and I was a bit nervous to read this book because I recently watched CJ reads her video in which she buddy reads it with Katie Books. I think it was How to Be Both. Is that what? Yeah, How to Be Both. It's on the back of this book. And she did not enjoy it, and so I was a bit nervous that I wasn't gonna like Ali Smith's writing because I've never read her before. Not even 30 pages into this yet, but I really enjoy it so far. I kind of like the, stylistic and, I guess, a little bit pretentious writing style. I'm enjoying it so far. I hope it pays off throughout the whole book. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not really sure where the plot is going. I know it's considered like the first post-Brexit novel. Really am digging it so far, and I don't know if I'll finish it by the end of the month. I think I will, because it's a super quick read. But I hope I like this one because I want to, read the full seasonal quartet. If you don't know about this series of sorts, she started with Autumn, but she's also written Winter, Spring, and Summer just recently came out. And so I think it's a cool idea, and I hope this one pays off so I can read all of them and give my thoughts accordingly. I guess we'll see. Next, I recently picked up Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, and I'm so glad I did because I am loving this book. I'm so shocked because I haven't read a classic in, like, I don't even really remember the last time I picked one up, especially like a quite old classic as this one is. I don't know, it's just such a classic coming of age tale so far, and I really like Jane Eyre. I like that she doesn't take any shit from anyone, and you know, to her detriment sometimes, but I just love seeing her, you know, stand up for herself despite, you know, the trauma that she's going through as a child. And I don't really know anything about this book other than that she like falls in love with a guy named Mr. Rochester. That's like truly all I know about this book. So I can't wait to see where this goes, and I hope the plot stays as propulsive as I'm finding it now. I'm just so surprised that this is pulling me in so much. It kind of feels almost modern in a sense. You know, there's obviously some like archaic language in it, but it reads in a modern way, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I really am enjoying this, and I don't think I'll finish this one by the end of the month. So it probably won't be in my August wrap up, but I'll probably touch on it there depending on where I am at and just give an update on it. But yeah, really enjoying this one, and I really want to read Villette, which I know people also recommend, and it's kind of like a hidden gem of, not hidden because it's a classic, but it's underrated, I guess, compared to this one. And so yeah, really digging it. Also loving these Penguin cloth bound classics. I love that I'm just spending money more than I need to on classics when I don't even know if I like them, but yeah, really digging this one. Highly recommend it already if you're looking for a classic to pick up. Last night I picked up The Death of Vivek Ogee, and I'm only like 7 pages in or something. I picked it up right before I was going to bed. I just wanted to check it out really quick, but I'm loving the writing style so far. This one's getting a ton of buzz right now, and I can already kind of see why. It's definitely a propulsive read. It's already gripped me so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I also have this one on audiobook, so I'm going to, you know, listen to them both. Maybe I can finish this before the end of the month and include it in my wrap up, because it's also a pretty short book and I'm already into it. So I feel like I'm gonna pick this one up after I finish The House in the Cerulean Sea and give it some more time and see if I am getting more invested in it. But it's really good so far. So yeah. Oh, and I guess I should say it's leading up to the death of a boy named Vivek Ogee, and we're getting a glimpse into his parents so far. That's really it that's gone on so far, but I'm digging it. So I guess we'll see. Okay, next I am reading Homesick for Another World. I've been reading this for like a month or two now, just kind of slowly picking away at these stories, and I'm loving it. Ottessa Moshfegh, as you may know, is one of my favorite authors, and this short story collection is just kind of solidifying that for me. She's so good, you know, at writing about characters that are extremely flawed, but yet they're not particularly villainized in any way. It's just a direct look at the bleakness of life and the many qualms people have about it, and just feeling like you're outside of everything else and trying to find your way despite everything just kind of sucking in life. And she, you know, faces head on the many gross things about life, including, you know, the body and its functions. She doesn't shy away from it. And I think she's just so good at character studies. I mean, none of these stories are particularly very plot driven. They're just mostly looking at one or two people in their interactions with each other and why they're doing things to each other in a certain way. And it's just so interesting. And every single story I'm like into it, even though there's not much happening. It's really weird. And that's why I think I like her so much, because she can, anything she writes, I'm into. Like, she has a very distinctive writing style. I feel like if you just gave me a story and it was written by her and I didn't know, I would definitely pick up on it after a little bit, just because you can feel the dark, wry humor in her work immediately. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I think I only have 4 stories left. Yeah, I'm almost done here. And yeah, I'm coming up on almost finishing all of her work. In my next pile, I'm talking about McGlue, but then I'll have read all of her stuff, and then I'll do some kind of, you know, discussion of it. I've actually been really inspired by, I always mention them, Alex from What Page Are You On, and Claire from Claire Reads Books. They do really well thought out and discussed, you know, topics. One video that I really enjoyed recently is Claire's video on millennial fiction, in which she discusses 2 of my favorite books of the year, Luster and Exciting Time. But I just really loved her conversational discussion style, and she gets really, you know, in depth with her analysis. And I feel like on here so far, I've just been kind of, you know, talking off the top of my head about the books that I'm reading, but I kind of want to try, you know, writing down some things about Ottessa Moshfegh's work, and hopefully giving you a video that you're into, and hopefully provides something interesting to the discourse. I know many people already talk about her work, you know, critics and people that are much more well-versed in literature than I am as just like a casual reader. But yeah, that'll be coming shortly, and I just really like her stuff. If you read this collection, I'm curious to know what your favorite story is from it. I think mine so far is The Beach Boy, because that story was wild. If you've read it, you know why. My jaw dropped during one part of it. I was like, whoa. But yeah, it's so good so far. Finally, I'm gradually making my way through Colin Jost's memoir, A Very Punchable Face. I'm really surprised by this collection because it's super funny, as you might expect from a comedian, but it's also pretty well written. And I just got to a part, I had to put the book down for some reason, but he's talking about speech and debate, which I was in high school. And so I'm so excited to read that part of the essay, because it'll be like a nice flashback to the high school years. But yeah, he's a really good writer, and I really like it so far. It's a pretty light read, and definitely what I was looking for from this collection. So yeah, I recommend it so far. I don't know if I'll finish it by the end of the month. It's also pretty short, but I'm digging it. Yeah, so those are the 6 books that I'm actively reading right now. And I've already started looking at my shelves and trying to figure out what I might want to read next. And so I pulled a quick stack of books that have been, you know, calling me. I decided not to pick them up yet because I'm in the middle of 6 books. It's chaos in these parts, but the first book being Take Me Apart by Sara Sligar. It's a reflective cover. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on some arcs that I've received from publishers, and this is one that I haven't gotten to yet, but I really want to check it out because it's supposed to be like a literary psychological thriller of sorts about an archivist who is trying to figure out why this woman died, and it just sounds really good and twisty. And yeah, so I'm definitely gonna check this one out very soon. Next, I mentioned earlier briefly, but McGlue by Ottessa Moshfegh. Once I finish Homesick for Another World, I think I'm gonna like just sit down and read this in one sitting, because it's a quick novella about like a drunk sailor who wakes up bloody and he may have killed a man. Yeah, so I think this should be a fun read, and it's her first work that I think was published. I could be wrong. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because then I can say I've read all of her stuff. So, oh yeah, this is the quote I was thinking of. It's on the back of this book from Gia Tolentino, one of my favorite writers right now. He says, Ottessa Moshfegh is easily the most interesting contemporary American writer on the subject of being alive when being alive feels terrible. And that's such a perfect, succinct way of describing her books. And yeah, of course, Gia Tolentino could exactly parse what I'm trying to say about her stuff. But yeah, this one will be coming soon. Okay, next I'm in a book club, and the September pick is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. And it is about, I think it's somewhat like semi-autobiographical about Russell's experience in which she's being seduced by her teacher, and she's underage. And so it's a very dark book, and I've heard a lot of mixed things about it in terms of, you know, the content, obviously trigger warnings going into this one, but I'm excited to read this and talk about it with a group because I think it's gonna lend itself well to a conversation. And so yeah, I'll be reading this in September, and it'll be in my wrap up then. But yeah, if you read this one, let me know what you thought of it, because I've seen some polarizing reviews on it. But yeah. Next, I mentioned this book in my most recent book haul, but I really want to read The Pisces by Melissa Broder. This is another one that CJ Reads recommends. It's about like a woman that falls in love with a merman. That's all I know. And she's like a writer, I think. And so yeah, I like weird out there fiction, and I think I'm gonna enjoy this one. So I don't know when I'll get to it, but hopefully soon. Okay, next, as spooky season is quickly approaching, I haven't read a horror book in so long, and I always call myself like a horror reader, but I haven't read a horror book in quite a long time. And so I want to get back in the spirit of reading horror because I feel like it's an underappreciated genre. I feel like it's often disregarded as kind of like fluff, but I don't think it is at all. And one I'm really interested in reading is The Brightlands by John Fram. I recently got this from my library, and I know it's queer horror, I know it involves football, and that's pretty much all I can remember off the top of my head right now. But I know it has some supernatural elements going on in it, and it's a debut book, so it just seems perfect for the approaching Halloween season. So I'll be reading this one soon before I have to return it to my library. So yeah, look out for thoughts on this one. Next, I'm already thinking about my next classic, and like I just said, I want to read some more spooky stuff. And so I don't know which one I'll read next, but I'm stuck between Frankenstein and The Picture of Dorian Gray. I read this one, I believe, in freshman year of high school, meaning The Picture of Dorian Gray. And I was in love with it, I remember. And I don't fully remember the plot, because it's been years now. but I just loved how gothic and strange it was, and I thought it was so cool that we're reading like a kind of queer book that was horror-ish in high school. And so I really want to reread this one as an adult and see what I get out of it, because I really liked Oscar Wilde's writing. And so, yeah, I picked up another Penguin Cloth Bound edition, and I'll be reading this soon. And also for Frankenstein, I actually won this book at this Penguin event last year. I got this like tote full of books for answering a trivia question right at my local bookstore, which was super awesome. And so, yeah, I have this cool edition of Frankenstein, and I've never read this book, and I've heard it holds up so well today, and it's just a classic, and I want to get to it. That's what I'm currently reading and what I'm planning to read soon. And so, yeah, if you have any favorites in my stack of to be read books, let me know. That about does it for this video. If you like my stuff, please subscribe. That'd be super cool, so we can be friends. And yeah, until next time, cheers.